the carnivore diet and the world around us. Make it make sense. Hey, what's shaking bacon? My name is Bruno Panucci. I hope you're doing well. So just a bit of an update before we start into the topic of the video. I'm doing a squat challenge. I encourage everyone to do this challenge. It's a very simple challenge. 10 squats every 45 minutes for an 8.5 hour window. The goal is to lower your blood sugar. The benefit of that is lower insulin. The benefit of that is if you're struggling with weight at all, it's the extra bit of activity you might need throughout the day to help lower your insulin. A study showed that it's more effective than a 30-minute walk a day. Lots of people out there don't have time or the willpower to get in that 30-minute walk a day. I know in the winter, I live in Canada, I don't do that. I really try and fight doing that because the old saying, the bigger you are, the harder they fall, that applies to me. So this is the kind of thing people can put in their day and it won't really affect their day too much. It only takes 10, maybe 13 seconds to pump out 10 squats. So if you want to become a member to the channel to support that, that's great. You're supporting me and the videos that I do. But if you want to just do it and not join the membership channel, which I hope to have up later today or tomorrow at the latest for the beginning of August, I hope that's something that anyone can join. You don't have to join the membership and be part of that community to do this on your own. But if for those of you who are at a weight plateau, or maybe you just notice that you have a little bit of weight to lose, it could just be the extra thing throughout the day to help manage your blood sugar. Now let's get into some of our make it make sense topics. So I have a lot of these. I actually made a video, volume 1, just a few videos back. You can go and check that out. The world we're living in, things that are accepted as normal, or maybe not normal, but just accepted as part of our society that we live in, are often not things that are healthy for us. And when somebody starts to make healthier choices, whether it's based on science or not, it's just kind of going backwards as far as getting back in step with nature and the way we eat, the way we've eaten for, hundreds or thousands of years. We find that we've gotten so far out of sync of what was once normal that we're doing something different, but different's good if it's better. And it's showing us that it's better because we have longer lifespans and better quality of life in those years. But really, we don't. We have longer lifespans, but we have poorer quality of life. And a lot of that is managed through medication. So what lots of people don't realize is you can get off a lot of those medications and it's not so much a weight issue. Weight is causing those problems, but what's causing the weight issue? Well, you have an insulin sensitivity. Most often, that's what it comes down to. But let's get into a few points to help flesh these ideas out. Raw milk. Raw milk has been around thousands of years. The human race has been living off of raw milk literally since the day we were born, as we latched onto our mama's nipples. Boys and girls all around the world have been drinking raw milk. We were drinking it from animals after that, especially through our more formative years. Now, in the last little while, especially since pasteurization came out, it's really been demonized as unhealthy and risky. Now, I'm not going to lie and say that there's no risk to it, because if you get a farmer who's not paying attention to what they're doing, I think that maybe there could be an issue there. I've drank raw milk. Raw milk is healthy. There's nothing wrong with raw milk, especially when you know the people who are doing it and they're reliable people who are being responsible with the way they're gathering the milk. One of the main reasons why it's been demonized and they try and blow raw milk out of proportion as far as it being dangerous goes is pasteurized milk can last longer on shelves. Simple as that. Lots of things, once they're pasteurized, have a longer expiry date. So it's good for the commercial industry. There's nothing wrong with raw milk. If you've had it, you'll know it also tastes way better. It's a lot more difficult to lose weight with raw milk in your carnivore diet. But trust me, it's one of those things that just tastes really good. Once you're at a sort of a balance with your diet and you feel like you're doing pretty well with your health and you want to incorporate a little bit of that, I highly recommend it. It's really good if you can get your hands on some. We need to make that make sense. We live in a world where raw milk is considered unhealthy and risky to drink, even though we've been doing it since the dawn of man. Another make it make sense, and this has always been a pet peeve of mine ever since I first learned about nutrition, and you'll have to excuse me if a lot of you people at one point used to use this argument. We're the only species that drinks another animal's milk. And they use that as an argument to not drink any milk. And quite frankly, that's a weak argument. First of all, I'd like to point out that's not true, because if you go on YouTube, you can find lots of animals that are feeding other baby animals from other species milk. You see it with cats with bunnies, bunnies with dogs, all sorts of little animals that need to be nursed. This mothering instinct comes out in nature and it just makes them want to help those babies. So when they already have their own babies, they take that one on board as another one of their litter. So as far as that we're the only species argument goes, It's a weak argument. And on top of that, we're the only species that also has alcohol in our diets. We're the only species that has Gatorade in our diets. We're also the only species that has colas in our diet. We're also the only species that has carbonated beverages in our diet. We're also the only species that drinks nut milks. We're also the only species that drinks fruit drinks. Those drinks are pure sugar. They're just as bad as pops. Ask any nutritional consultants out there. They can tell you that. That's not new science. That's something that will spike your blood sugar. Let's make this make sense. There's nothing wrong with having milk in your diet as an argument when you're having all these other things in your diet. Look at the regular diet most people eat. It's recommended by most nutritional consultants, nutrition experts, doctors, pretty much anyone across the board for the vast majority to have a diet full in carbohydrates. And that's including vegetables, sugary fruits, and just carbs in general. And, they all recommend a little bit of junk food, but the problem for a lot of people is it's tough to manage that little bit of junk food. But most of the people have a diet that's about 70 to 80% in carbohydrates, some even much worse than that. So when you have obesity issues or you have health issues, you have to stop and look at what you can do to adjust that. So let's make this make sense. 80% of the food you eat based off of the food pyramid or the government guidelines are all carbohydrate. Now, with an obesity epidemic in North America of reaching close to 50%, we got to watch our carbohydrates. If you're overweight, whether it's 10 pounds or 50 pounds, you have a reason why your body's not burning fat. And the fuel you're eating is causing issues in your body, and it's being stored as more and more fat. Sometimes it's only 2 pounds a year. Sometimes for other people, it's 20 or more pounds through the year. So we're getting advice from our doctors and nutritional consultants that are taking advice from the food guide brought out to us by the government, which is encouraging people, including people with diabetes, to eat a high carbohydrate diet. When you have stored fat on your body, as I do, I've lost 165 pounds and I still have more weight to lose. You have a level of insulin resistance. Simple as that. When you have insulin resistance, the one thing you need to cut out and cut back drastically on is carbohydrates. Carbohydrates and sugars. Sugars are carbohydrates. Carbohydrates turn into sugars in the body really fast and really easily, creating an insulin spike because your sugar goes up really high. And when your sugar goes up high, your fasting insulin goes up high. So we want to make sure we get rid of those spikes, and meat doesn't give a spike. It gives more of a hill, and fat gives more of like a speed bump. So we want to try and have hills and speed bumps throughout our day. And that's why we're on a zero carbohydrate diet. But when you do a zero or even a low carbohydrate diet like keto, people look at you and they're just kind of baffled by that. Some people don't understand it. They just don't know much about nutrition. And those who think they do, based on the science that's been provided by the government, which has been faulty science all these years, they still recommend you do this. And it's dangerous. I saw my own doctor before I had my heart attack back in 2015. I saw my doctor and got a physical 3 months before. I was 465 pounds. And this doctor was like, yeah, your blood sugar is a little high. You're pre-diabetic. But other than that, you're fine. I was 40 years old, 465 pounds. And he said, no, you're good. He didn't even offer me any medications to try and lose weight or to try and manage my clear insulin resistance. Now, I'm not blaming him. I'm the one responsible for putting all that food in my mouth. I'm a straight shooter that way. But it was his job to pull me aside and say, hey, we have a very serious health problem. Between this and your size, this is the precursor to heart disease. He already tried to talk me out of cholesterol medications because he recognized the new science was showing cholesterol wasn't the demon we all thought it was. But at the same time, what he wasn't paying attention to was high insulin is one of the root factors of cardiovascular disease. And he was just like, we have to make this make sense. When our medical professionals see that we've been going down a road in a very negative way over the last 50 years, and I don't mean me, I mean as a society, and they can't stop and separate themselves from the science that they are married to, they have to stop and reassess. And that's why there are some doctors and some nutritional experts out there who will tell you, no, go more fat-based. If you have any form of insulin resistance, you can manage that in a few different ways. One of the easiest, so that you don't starve yourself, is going fat-based. So there's some out there, Dr. Ken Berry, Dr. Sean Baker, Dr. Anthony Chaffee. There's lots of doctors and nutritional consultants who have come along this route and noticed that it's managed health problems, not from the weight loss so much as getting rid of the inflammation in the body, because chronically high insulin creates inflammation in the body. So as that goes down, your weight goes down. When all that happens, the rest of your body starts healing. Actually, the interesting thing I've always said about carnivore is your body starts healing before the weight loss because you've gotten rid of those inflammatory markers. Then all your numbers start to go back to where they should be. And in the process, you start losing weight. Losing weight is a side effect of being healthy. So let's make it make sense. We have a food guide brought out to us by our government that is actually telling us to eat bad food. They see that we're approaching 50% of the population as obese, and yet they're still not adjusting that. So pasteurized milk compared to raw milk, we're the only species that drinks another animal's milk. A high carbohydrate diet that's encouraged by our medical professionals. Make it make sense.